Hello and welcome. This is Heavy Business. I'm Aaliyah.
And I'm Curtis.
And today we are here with our friend Keefy of Ghost Cult Magazine. Thanks for coming back on the podcast.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
Yeah.
I was saving that all day.
Oh, good one. Good one. Yeah, as listeners know, we've had Keefy on the podcast many times. This is our C Squared and Friends edition episode. And today we're going to talk about advertising on various websites. And I think, we talk about marketing in all kinds of ways. And this is just one facet of marketing that people and bands can look into. But I think one of the best places to start with this, Keefy, would be to talk about what sort of state a band needs to be in before something like this is going to be valuable to them.
Call and a good place to jump in. Just like PR, when you utilize a tool matters if you're starting out, whatever level you're at. So we've all seen cases where, bands don't, it's not that they don't know. I think the typical urge is to I have to promote my stuff. Let me just throw money at the problem. And it's not that simple. Timing matters. Where to put your advertising money matters. I get all the time, I don't really have a budget, but what do I do? And there's a lot of bad actors out there and a lot of bad advice. And if you see something that works from someone else, it may not necessarily work for you. And that's true of advertising, and it's true of PR, it's true of marketing, and it's true of music, right? So just because something works for someone does not mean it's going to work for you. So I think the first building block is be honest with yourself. Where am I in my journey? Where am I in my release cycle? Where am I touring? What is next for my band? What's the forecast for my band for the next 6 to 12 months? And what do I need, if any, to advertise? What do I need? That's the first move.
Well, I think even the undercut to even that, Keefy, just from my own thoughts are, is the band any good and is the product good enough to even throw money at? Because we've all seen certain individuals give blanket advice that you should do ads to bands that they sound like donkeys, for lack of a better word. So
well, yeah, and I think that's hard though I think that's really hard for a band to gauge for themselves sometimes. Everybody's making the music that they love. And so what are some outside metrics maybe that bands could use to tell that?
Oh, I got that. So I got a couple right off the top here. So because Keefy's sitting in the room with us, if a blog or a website will not even review your stuff, period, and they tell you it is too subpar, because most blogs will generally, if asked, tell you that it's not up to their standards if you submit something and they have time to check it out, obviously. But they will generally tell you. At least that's my experience from when I was a writer. I would tell bands look, you're not up, you're not ready. So if a website or a blog or a print magazine will not even give you the time of day because they say your art looks like shit or your photos look like shit, just like looking at it, or your bio looks like shit or something like that, to me, right there, red flag for starting any type of advertising, period.
Fair enough. I don't think I have the empirical evidence to say with a fact that every website responds and tells bands they're not good.
They won't.
To get
I don't.
But I'm saying it
common,
happens sometimes. Sorry, let me clarify that. So if you get told that, then you know.
I think there's a bit of an ego thing with bands anyway. If they're making music, they think it's good, even if they're starting out. And look, or
they think it's terrible, but
or they don't think it's good enough and they're insecure about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it's good enough, maybe it's not. So I think we have to kind of remove that for a second and just talk about the life cycle of where a band is at, as opposed to solving world peace and curing cancer today, as well as fixing bands' insecurities. But that's just me. I think it's hard. It's hard to expect a band to be honest. It's hard for the biggest bands in the world to self-edit and, tell themselves this should not be on the album. So, I love the new Metallica. There's a couple songs I would have left off if I was in the band, but that's just me. It's the same thing. I think, it's probably too hard for us to solve that answer. Personally, I'm going to just be honest right now, probably more than I should be, for all the emails I get and I cannot reply to. I check out some. Some are pretty good, and we just don't have space or time for them. Honestly, I barely have time to do what I have to do that I'm committed to. So I think, you know, in all fairness, if I'm going to spend the time to reply to somebody that asks me for my opinion, I'm going to try to be fair. I'm gonna try to be honest and unmerciful, like my hero Lester Bangs, and from Almost Famous. And even though he hated metal, and you know, I'm not going to be overly mean, but I will be frank and honest and say, this is what I would work on. This is good. You know, we've all had bands at different levels approach us, and we've worked with some of them, and they were not at their finest yet, or they're not quite refined where they need to be or where they were going to be. So yeah, it's hard to answer that. I don't know that other websites even respond to bands that are not good.
Yeah.
They probably, I'm guessing they don't. I wouldn't say that either way, good or bad. I don't necessarily get back to a lot of bands that approach us. I get back to some, and I do try. And I will say, just as a shout out to Bandcamp Friday, I discover new music and new bands I probably wouldn't check out over email that I have checked out on the recent Bandcamp Friday, that like all kinds of stripes of bands that I might not have had time to listen to on over email, because it's got to be compartmentalized along with everything else I have to do, a mountain of things. But like on Bandcamp Friday, I carve out like a couple hours and go through everybody that commented on Ghost Cult's posts, and I listen and I follow and I play one song, sometimes more if I like it. So sometimes I buy stuff. By the way, we had that conversation, Curtis and I, about Dawn of Ouroboros, and I bought their vinyl after they dogged me on Twitter for not going to their show and going to Enslaved instead. I still bought their vinyl.
That was deserved, though. That was deserved. You should have gone to them instead of Enslaved.
I had bought the ticket already, and I bought a ticket to Enslaved. I didn't go for free, so we covered it in another city, and I wanted.
See, that's your problem. You actually paid to go to Enslaved. You shouldn't have. Well, anyways, I won't.
Well, I don't like to double tap.
Anyways,
tasteful.
I try, but anywho, let's. I will get us back on track for a change.
Thank you.
I never do, but I'm going to hear it and say, so let's talk about like in the life cycle of a band.
Yes.
Are you ready to advertise something? So like I said, a good idea is your band should start every year or every year for your band with a forecast. What are we doing this year? We're playing shows. Or are we going to tour regionally? Are we going to tour nationally? Do we have an album coming out? Are we releasing something special? Are we doing a Bandcamp Friday? Are we doing a cover? What are we doing? Then what is the interest in what we're doing? And there you have to be honest, because you can see, what your plays are, how many followers you have, how many likes you have, who's following you on Bandcamp. That's your captive audience. And we talk a lot about social media, and I'm going to throw in your email list is crucially important to helping you with your forecast, because you can use your email list, if you have one, to ask your fans what they want from you. And that will also tell you what people who don't know who you are and what you do, that they might like it, because you can model an audience. Our social media, our Bandcamp, and our email list have this Venn diagram of things that they might all like about us. Maybe we can model that and target certain people. So that's where your advertising, the germ of an advertising strategy begins at what are we doing? What do we have? And who is our audience? You got to answer those 3 questions before you can spend $1. Don't impulsively ever boost a post or spend something because you want likes and attention. I feel that's wasteful. Even if you have something that's going viral, air quotes, and a lot of bands do occasionally get a viral post, and Leah's had a few recently, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, on TikTok.
Yeah, but like, did you guys also consider even remotely putting money on TikTok's advertising platform that's largely unproven, even though TikTok is awesome?
We haven't done it, but we did think about it just because my nephew recommended that we do it, and he's been my younger nephew has been our insider on TikTok information.
You gotta have
done yet, so
them to work young. That's what we do. Child labor laws are out the window in this country. We can do whatever, get him young.
He's 18.
I was gonna say, I hope he's older than like 8 or something like that.
An 8-year-old would honestly probably know TikTok even better. Sadly,
my kids claim they know TikTok inside and out, whether they do or not.
Legally not supposed to, but also the reality is they all do.
Yeah, exactly.
Terms of service be damned. But so yeah, answer those 3 questions. And I always say, like, stop the video, rewind it, write this down. Those 3 points are what you need to begin an advertising strategy. Then, after you figured out, okay, here's what we have that's worth advertising, where do I put my money? Right? That's, I think, like,
That's
I'm
a
guessing your next questions.
key
Right.
thing. Where?
Right. So let's advance a little from the beginners to a band that's been out for a while, that maybe has some releases, that has PR or is ready to hire PR also. This is the time when you think about a total budget. And bands, you heard me say this once. If you've ever heard me on these podcasts or mine or others, you've heard me say it a million times. The money you spend on your recording is not your total budget for an album release. You need to have money potentially for PR if you want it to get in the hands of writers or anywhere else. You have to have money for advertising a little bit. Even a little bit helps. And we'll talk about where's the best use of your limited budget if you have one. And other things, other expenses. You never know. If you are in an area with a lot of live shows and scenes, flyers, cards, stickers, doodads, tchotchkes, not related to me, but tchotchkes, things, keychains, magnets, other things, buttons, pins, patches. These things matter. They're all part of your marketing budget to me. That's how I see everything, just like a Hollywood movie. Everything that's not making the thing is marketing and PR. And so what to do? Where am I going to spend my money? And so, and bands that say, oh, we spent all this money making the record, and I have no money left over. Get to work for a few months, put your thing on ice, live with it for a while. It's okay. It's not a crime to not have your thing come out when you wanted it to. Life sucks. Get ready for disappointment. I can tell you, I'm older. And, take some time, wait a beat, hire PR, have a marketing budget. These things matter. They help you help yourself, rather than, well, we put it out and now it's out and no one will touch it. And now it's out already. Now you're fighting an uphill battle. Music that has not come out yet, you have a built-in advantage as opposed to music that's out already. And if music is out already, Curtis is one of the masters at telling bands on how to sort of, re-engineer, reanimate your release, right?
But sometimes it's hard.
Sometimes it's hard, though. It's going to be hard. But other times, it does work. So if your album hasn't come out yet, you have a better chance of getting reviewed. You have a better chance of getting eyes and ears on it. You have a better chance of getting attention. That's what we're ultimately at this. Advertising is just paying for attention to get attention faster than you could organically. And sometimes better and sometimes not.
There's 2 points I want to bring up right now. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about that point, Keefy, before we...
No.
Okay, Elia, is there anything else you wanted to bring up on that point? Okay. So where to advertise? So there's 2 things that I think can be both good and stupid for bands to do, depending upon the situation. Number one, there is one person out there that touts heavily to advertise on Spotify, but the director of marketing at Metal Blade brought up a very good point on this podcast. I think it was Steve, wasn't it? About that the people that are paying for Spotify are not hearing your ads.
Right. And those are the people that are really into music.
Yeah. And
the
they're
people
the ones
that aren't
paying
for Spotify are the ones that are casually into music.
Yeah. So
he says, generally speaking, although I do not pay for Spotify and I'm passionate about music, I cannot add that subscription service to my life right now.
Do you have another type of subscription though?
We only have Netflix.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think you're in the minority maybe on that one then. Okay. Because I mean, I use the Spotify free, but I pay for YouTube Premium, and I mainly use YouTube Premium, but I do use Spotify occasionally because they have different playlists that I do enjoy. So that's one thing right there. I don't think that's smart for most bands to do that. And the other thing too is a lot of times bands will go dump a shit ton of money on a print ad for just one. And one thing that's always brought up is if you're going to do print advertising, you got to get like a whole fucking shit ton of ads months after months after month after month on that. So I think those are both of those can be good ideas for bands, but horrible ideas depending on how you do it. So like the print ad thing, like if you're going to spend $1,000 on one print ad, I think you're wasting your money. Keefy, I just want to hear your opinion on these 2 things before I say anything else.
Yeah, no problem. Shout out to Curtis for mentioning YouTube Premium for the second podcast appearance of myself in a row.
Because it's good.
It is great. And I'm a YouTube Premium person. And the platform, YouTube Music as a platform, is much better than Spotify in terms of like its actual app on both iPhone and Android. But anyway, I agree. There's a give and a take. The majority of Spotify users are not on premium, by the way. The majority of YouTube users are not on premium. Those people are all getting served ads.
But are they casual is the question, or are they the music fans?
Well, that's, you have to target them. You have to
Yeah.
target the right fans. But I'm with you on that. I think
Fair.
Spotify for certain things and certain kinds of bands, to be honest. Playlisting is a whole nother animal we'll talk about another time, perhaps. Or I can recommend a good guest for you to talk about playlisting with. But,
that'd be great. We'll talk.
I have several guests in mind for you guys. But anyhow, I'll pitch you in emails. So yeah, I think in terms of Spotify, it really honestly depends on your genre of band, even. And also just your level of band. So I think, what is the value in that? And I think done well, Spotify advertising, I've actually did the training for the program for the platform's pretty cool. And I would, if you got the money, it ain't cheap. The price point is a minimum of $250, which doesn't get you much just to start, but it might be worth it for certain kinds of bands. Now for print.
Have either of you ever bought something based on a Spotify ad, just out of curiosity?
Bought or listened? Because
Either.
a
Or sorry,
stream is a
listen. Sorry,
I have.
Have you? I
Definitely.
never have. Okay, fine, fair enough. I'll shut up.
But I use Spotify a lot, and I end up
Fair.
using Spotify a lot for Ghost Cult for website posts, because bands will give your all-in-one link, your link devices that have all your streaming services and Bandcamp and things, and a pre-order. But then I also link the Spotify link directly, because I feel like that's a traffic helper. Now let's talk about print for a second. And obviously the big bad boy of all of printing is Decibel for metal, right? For metal, and maybe hard
100%.
rock, probably just metal. And just to put it out there, because we've said this many times on the pod, I have, paying for an ad in Decibel does not get you reviewed. In fact, you probably won't get a review from them, even if you bought the most expensive ad they have. You will not get considered for an interview or a review.
I'm sure if you slipped in like $30,000, I mean, that might help.
I don't think they would.
I don't think they would accept that. That's bribery.
I'm being silly. I know.
I know Albert. I don't think he would do it.
He wouldn't. I'm just being silly.
I get it. I think real, but like a lot of people, it used to be that way. And there's still an element. There's definitely an element of pay for play amongst my brethren in the music journalism world that are accepting pay for play right now, and I'm fully adamantly against it. So bands that have advertised with me, I've either already covered them, or I would have covered them anyway before I would ever take their money. That's just a personal thing. As the steward of the advertising of Ghost Cult, that's my personal policy. I've never had a band. I've had bands offer me money to review them, and I just flat out said, well, we'll review you if we can review you. We're not going to take your money. If you want to spend money with us in other ways that will help the band, I can recommend some things, but I'm not going to take your money strictly one-to-one for quid pro quo for a review. It's not my way. I don't think anybody should be doing it.
I do want to point something out. In Europe, I don't think most of them do it for reviews, but a lot of times if you buy an ad, they will do an interview or put you on a cover mount, just to put it out there, just so people realize that, because that is a thing, and you will get those
cover
offers.
Mount, the cover mount CD, which is a holdover from the 80s, is still somehow a thing.
I know.
It's
I don't
so
get it.
expensive to make. I don't understand it.
But
I could see getting in the compilation on the cover mount and paying for that.
100%.
That's a good, because then every single person that got the magazine, they might at least listen to it one time and discover your band.
But I don't know what that investment. Let's be honest. How many people are going to listen to a CD? But that's another thing.
People still listen to CDs.
I still listen to CDs. Come on, Curtis. Let's get back to the matter at hand. Okay.
We're
talking print advertising.
Yeah, print. So Decibel, like I said, I agree with Curtis. Curtis made a really great point a bunch of minutes ago, which was typically an array of ads, months and months in a row, many touches, right? There's this philosophy in sales that it takes 7 touches to get a qualified lead that leads to a sale later. So people need familiarity. You need to see your brand. You need to pop up everywhere. A lot of bands don't have the money to blanket the world, right? And you do see some underground bands that just have money and nothing else going for them, just ooze advertising everywhere, and then you check it out, it's like, oh, this is very mid and marginal, and they just have money. Somebody's a trust fund kid and they just have a lot of money to sink into this, which is fine. I'm not going to harsh on somebody's dream, but I just did kind of. But Curtis made a good point. So yeah, if you're going to spend the money for Decibel, you need more than just one ad. And I don't, who else is out there that's doing advertising? New Noise, Outburn, right? We're talking about some of the bigger ones out there. Revolver, is right there. And then it's a bunch of other smaller zines, right? Smaller zines. And then you have websites. So here's where I know my domain real well. And I'll give you a link for the description where you can send people who want to advertise with me. Probably very few, but in case you want to, we have all kinds of ads. So, when it came time, I had, work in the corporate world. So I have a bit of an understanding about marketing in general and how websites charge and what they base on. So I informally asked a bunch of my peers when we were getting ready to really seriously try to do advertising. We started as a magazine, as Curtis knows, because he was a member of the magazine before I even came in. And they had ads, right? They would sell ads. Sometimes they would, when they didn't have enough sales, they would just put something in place of an ad, like a concert tour poster or a band photo or something, or an ad of some kind. But website advertising comes in many forms, and most websites out there that do what we do for rock and metal do sell ads, and we do sell ads. We have right now, I'm going to say 4 or 5 paid ads for the spring. I usually work with someone's budget. We have set rates, and obviously bigger agencies, bigger record labels, corporations, I might charge them a higher price because they can pay it. And DIY artists, small record labels, small stores, I might charge a sliding scale. I might say, what's your budget? Let me craft a package of ads for you. There's also other services we offer that I don't think a lot of other people offer. We can do video ads for band, for, certain budgets. We can create actual advertising for you. I typically don't like to do the artwork and stuff myself. I prefer you to give me artwork made already to my specs. And I can show you, examples and past clients and, kind of what, just like PR, we don't actually promise like this much sales for this much advertising. I don't think anybody can really do that. And nobody really does that in digital marketing. Nobody really does that. But you can get a picture of like, here's what past campaigns have done with a similar spend or a similar array of ads. So I know that wasn't very succinct, but that's kind of in a nutshell about what I do with Ghost Cult. And then I have many thoughts and opinions about what you see out there. If I were to recommend some of our peers in the scene, you can get kind of Blabbermouth has its own advertising platform that's called Fixion Media, where they do the all over paste thing. That's very expensive, but look at the coverage you get. You literally blanket their page, except for the middle window that's news. And now I don't know if you've been on Blabbermouth this week. They just started doing like a very weird, like pop-up ad, like not pop-up ads, but like embedded video ads that don't seem to be related to anything I'm reading, but are about rock or metal. And it's like odd to me. Whoever's paying for that clearly is paying a lot, because Blabbermouth is one of the most trafficked websites, in the world for our music. And props to them for getting that sale in. But I'm confused as to what are these ads selling? I'm not quite sure, but okay.
So, Aaliyah, can I bring up one other point, or did you want to bring something up?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so one thing just I want to bring up about advertising, like looking for your market, because we didn't fully explore that yet. I know we don't have a shit ton of time left.
Yeah, we don't, but
I do want to bring this up. So one thing I think bands really need to do is, before they start looking at advertising, is which publications are suitable for them. Because I've seen bands try to do like super mainstream publications, and they're like a death metal or black metal band. To me, that's just borderline, just pure stupidity, because it's like you want to go. Someone once gave an analogy that, you want to go where the people that buy your stuff is. I'm not. They said something pretty crude. I'm not going to repeat it for fear of being canceled, actually. So I'll tell you guys later. But anyways, they made a good point that you want to go where your audience is.
I literally heard Keefy's eye roll from here in
Chicago.
you
guys will enjoy this later. So you guys, I didn't say it. I withheld myself.
Continue, please.
Yes, I will. So anyways, like Ghost Cult, for example, you handle metal, you handle rock, you handle alternative. So a country band coming to you and wanting to advertise, you'd probably still take their money because it's an ad, I would assume, right? No?
Depends.
Depends.
We have covered some alternative country, outlaw country
Okay.
people.
Okay.
Like Bob Wayne, who was like a metalhead who does country. He used to be
Okay.
in Hank 3's band, Hank 3.
That's awesome.
There were originally Hank 3 ads like 10 years ago at Ghost Cult for his record that it was like literally the last record he did. That's Hank 3 is the grandson of Hank Williams, the country
Yep.
artist. He also has metal bands and punk
Yep.
bands
He does.
that sound like I Hate God, or one of his bands sounds like Alice in Chains. So it depends. Mainstream pop country, not a chance.
Okay,
Mainstream pop music and rap, not too much.
Okay.
I would not be opposed, but then again, I also Ghost Cult is a little more broad and less narrow than some of our competitors. So, like, if Interscope had approached me about Meg Myers, who I love, I would absolutely love to have a Meg Myers ad on my website. Not necessarily the music for everybody, but I think there's a small portion of people that she could capture from our fans. At the same time, like, sometimes we will cover bands that are not so underground, but that's less likely. You're right. Definitely go where they are. Be where they are.
Yeah.
Hit them where they are.
So you're not going to be taking ads for classical music as a general rule. General
Probably not.
rule.
Yeah,
Well, because if you think about it, like all these websites, the ads are still on their websites, and it's going to clash with their branding.
Yeah.
And it's going to injure their reputation potentially if it's too far outside the spectrum.
Yeah.
100%. Of what they do.
100%. But sometimes the ad person doesn't always care because they're not connected to the editorial, and the editorial doesn't necessarily always find out right away. So
I feel like you can tell when the sites are like
it happens. It does happen. I know it's happened. I've seen it happen, but it's rare. That's for sure.
But the main reason you should go where your fans are is because that's where they're going to be. That's those are the people you want to advertise to.
So you want to carefully look, and you want to see what bands these sites cover. So, like, you hit Keefy up, you're a rapper, probably not the best spot. You want to, if you hit up, I don't know, Knotfest, and you're a super extreme death metal band, I mean, maybe, but probably they're more likely to go for metalcore or something like that, or more modern death metal or something like that, or
maybe if you're a power metal band, they wouldn't be the right fit.
Yeah, or power metal or whatever. Metal sucks might not be the right choice for certain genres. So you want to take a look, just kind of see who they're covering already. And if you see that they cover a lot of your genre, that's probably going to be the best site for you to advertise in. Like a new metal band advertising in Decibel, I mean, maybe in the past, but not now. You know what I mean? So
right. I was going to say a good analogy is I think it wasn't at the Heavy Business Pod past, but the past podcast you guys interviewed the guy who's the head of Prog Power, right? The booker of Prog Power, and you know where their ads are?
Where's
Blabbermouth and Brave Words. And
it's perfect.
But I still feel like Brave Words is only a big deal in Canada, and I know they have a footprint here in America and correspondence in America, but I don't think of them as one of the top 10 anymore because they come from the magazine time. But I guess in Canada, especially, they're still huge, right? But I don't.
I just live here, man. I'm not commenting one way or the other. I just live here.
I get you. Let's do this because I know we're short on time, but there's two things I wanted to talk about today that I think are misunderstood, and maybe I can help clear them up a little bit. And I'm going to try to do this in a nutshell. We could spend a whole episode just on social media ads. Here's the thing about social media ads that everybody gets wrong. If you see somebody else do something that works, don't assume it's going to work for you. Your audience is the best research tool you have. So if you're going to spend money on social media ads, and I will tell you, even though Facebook kind of sucks now, Facebook ads are still flawless if you target correctly with a little bit more limited than it used to be. But if you target correctly and you spend the right amount of money in the right places, Facebook ads are still very effective. Now, for other kinds of advertising, less so. LinkedIn for your band, not a good idea. TikTok is a maybe. They're rising.
Wait, people do LinkedIn ads for their band?
Some people do for their band.
Well, yeah. I mean, any site that has advertising possibilities, it's
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn's great, and their ads are great. Not for music, not for the music business, but unless you're selling a course or something, and even then, I don't know that I would. But Facebook, again, it's like where you choose to spend what limited money you have matters. Twitter, I probably wouldn't care right now. I wouldn't give them my money. Instagram and Facebook are on the same algorithm for advertising. And so there's a lot of crossover there that might help your band, especially if you do well on those channels, because you have a lot to target, model, and target after. You can create an audience modeled after the one you already have. Now, really quick, I'm going to give a shameless plug because I'm still talking a lot about video this year. YouTube has the best analytics of any social network just organically themselves. YouTube has all kinds of tools and things to help you use YouTube ads, which are basically Google ads, by the way, for video, and to help promote your band. And it's a lot of people are not paying for premium YouTube, and they're seeing the ads before a video, in the middle of a video, after video. I know it's a turnoff, but they sit through them statistically. They do very well. And I would say what you want to do in addition to that organic YouTube analytics, there's an extra tool I will share, vidIQ, which I am also, spoiler alert, an affiliate marketer for. I have an affiliate partnership with them, and I promote them because,
well, thank you for disclaiming that.
Yeah, I'm always transparent. It's helped us improve our YouTube by leaps and bounds by using the tools of vidIQ. And I'll send you guys a link. You can check it out. They have a free level. You don't have to pay, but I'll send you the link. And then really quick, I want to talk about programmatic advertising, and I think we'll probably be at time at that second. Just really quick. So programmatic advertising is imagine the entire internet is the old newspaper where you used to buy ads by the column inch. The entire internet is basically can be advertised on all kinds of ads, and you see them all the time. You and I are having a conversation right now, and our machines are all listening to us. And in 10 minutes, we're all going to log off and get an ad for something we mentioned just now, like vidIQ or something else. So programmatic advertising is advertising everywhere else on the web that's not strictly social media. And there's a lot of different flavors of this that you will see. And I do want to shout out, again, full transparency, Ghost Cult is a member of the Blast Beat Network, which is owned by Sony the Orchard and also owns Metal Sucks and Metal Injection. And other members of the Blast Beat Network include Cult Nation and Metal Insider, and I think still Gear Gods, not sure. But they are pretty foolproof. When I was doing music marketing and PR myself for a few bands, we used Blast Beat Network to promote things like a video release, like a single, like a Bandcamp pre-sale, and they work gangbusters. I can't talk enough about this ad network and how well it works. And there are a lot of them. Revolver has one. A lot of them have them. So, these are things to consider. That's really money well spent. If you don't have a lot, I can recommend definitely buying ads on Blast Beat Network and things like that. Granted, I do receive profits. I literally just turned an invoice into them today. So I do get paid by them, but I don't necessarily go out and shill for them unless I'm right here in this moment being asked about it.
Right. Quick question about that. Is that something that you, like, for example, if you were advertising for a music video, is that something you would start running after the music video's out or before for like pre-saves or something?
Good question. I think if a lot of bands drop a single and a video at the same time, then I might promote the pre-save with a teaser and see if people will, Curtis likes to talk about like how many clicks, right? The how many clicks rule. So if it takes me 2 clicks to save your thing, you're assuming that I'm pre-saving on Spotify, another streaming service, or Bandcamp, or pre-click the notification for YouTube, right?
Right.
I think typically the experience is probably better and better money well spent after the video drops to promote the thing that's out already, to boost those video views and drive people right to your YouTube, and you'll be able to track it with a custom link, whatever you do. And again, Google ads also are, if you're doing Google AdWords and advertising, also a tremendous thing for, bang for your buck. Google now has a lot of tools and help to help advertisers so they don't feel like they're wasting their money, because that was the number 1 complaint. I feel like I'm throwing my money away. I just did, by the way, a small 2-week ad campaign on Google, just a limited test for myself, $100, just to see what it would do with one of my things. And did decently well without too much effort from me. And they really are trying to coach people into doing really refining the ads now, the ad experience.
All really interesting stuff. Yeah, I don't think we have time to go over anything else, but if anybody has any further questions about this topic, please don't hesitate to comment them to us, send it to one of us, let us know. I just got a message requesting like 4 different guests today, and I appreciate that. I love it when people give us some input on who and what kind of professions they want to hear about. And yeah, so please feel free to message me at Aaliyah Day on Instagram, Curtis. I'm sure you can message Keefy about other things. But me and Curtis for podcast topics. And also, I do want to take a second to ask you, if you are listening to this podcast and you have not yet rated our podcast on your platform of choice, rate and review our podcast. Helps us so much. And we really appreciate it if you can just take a second to do that. And okay, now we're back. So everyone that's still listening, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, make like a bull and throw those horns up.